So right now, home builders in Texas are offering more money in home buyer incentives than any other state except for Florida. And that's great news for home buyers because it means you could get up to $30,000 in cash towards your $300,000 house. But we all know that all money ain't good money. There ain't no such thing as free money. So if you're not careful, you could end up paying more money in the long run. So today, I'm gonna talk about the biggest incentives that I'm seeing going, how you can take advantage of those, and the biggest mistakes that I'm seeing people make and how you can avoid those. It's gonna be a good video. It's a little hot out here, so we're gonna take it inside the office to finish this one. I'll see you in there. My name's Stephen Harris. All I do all day is help home buyers make good decisions about their home. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home in the great state of Texas, all my contact info is below. I would love to talk to you. Now, the headline is Texas home builders are paying more in incentives than pretty much any other state. The CEOs of the biggest home builders in the country have made it very, very clear that they're here to compete, and they will do whatever it takes to move those homes. For them, they can move profits from places in the East Coast that are not seeing as many incentives and move those into our Texas market in order to get people into the door. But why? Why do they have to do that? Well, Texas is one of the states where the amount of homes for sale over the past few years has increased to the point where it is past what it used to be before the great housing boom. All right. Everybody calls it like pre-pandemic or like pre-housing boom. And that was an issue with inventory. Inventory is just the amount of homes for sale. And like nationwide, we know that there are way less homes for sale now than there have been in the past. But if we zero in on the state of Texas, you'll see that some of the biggest markets here have inventory or homes for sale that match or exceed what they were back in 2019, 2018, before the big housing boom. So what does that end up meaning is that puts pressure on prices. More competition equals lower prices. And home builders are direct competitors to home sellers. They just kind of have the advantage because some of them are larger corporations and they can kind of move money from one place to another. And I think that's the key that I want you to take away from this is home builders don't lose money, all right? They just move it from one place to another. So even though they might be giving you $50,000 in incentives on a $500,000 home, they are making up for it somewhere. So we're gonna keep our eye on that. Right now, some of the biggest incentives that I'm seeing for my clients in this housing market, the huge one is interest rate buy downs, right? Because the interest rates are scaring everybody away. And those interest rates being so high, those are the reasons that more homes are sitting on the market because there are less people that can afford to buy those homes. So home builders are pretty much attacking the problem head on and saying, hey, I don't want to lower my price, but I will give you $10,000 for a rate buy down, $20,000 for a rate buy down. I've even seen interest rates on D.R. Horton homes get as low as 3.99, and that's a fixed rate. That means it's not moving. That is crazy because at the time, that 3.99 was competing against somebody who's trying to sell their house, and that house is probably going to come with like a 7.5% interest rate. So it ends up making the builder the clear winner for a lot of people. Now, the other thing that I'm seeing here is closing cost assistance. Now, a lot of builders are not paying full closing costs. They're actually applying most of that money to the interest rate buy down and then paying a portion of the closing costs, kind of leaving you to bring some cash to the table. But if you still compare apples to apples on a resale home, then you're probably still winning as far as out-of-pocket funds go and monthly payment goes if you go for the builder incentive that buys down the interest rate, but it doesn't pay all of your closing costs. But I would just say beware on the amount of closing costs that you end up having to pay for yourself. Also, the other thing that is in negotiation here is your real estate agent fee, so your buyer's agent commission. Some home builders, like Lennar, in some markets are just not paying it. And so you end up having to pay more money out of pocket to have a buyer's agent on your side than you would have if you would have went with a different builder or a resale home. Now, you don't always need an agent for sure, especially when you're dealing with a home builder, but these home builders get tricky. Okay, they get tricky, and I know you can see a lot of videos online about this. So having somebody there that has your back is super important. Those are the biggest two incentives that I'm seeing. The third one is the appliance package, which kind of seems pretty innocuous and harmless and like good for the buyer. They'll give you a free washer and dryer and free refrigerator, which is good. But just know this, all of those incentives that they are giving you are baked into the price. So if you'll notice this, when you go to try and negotiate with a home builder, the one thing that they will never do is lower the sales price. They'll throw a bunch of money at closing costs, give you all the appliances, do everything that you want, but they will not lower the price. Why? Because that affects their comparable sales later on down the road. And when they want to raise up the price, it's going to be hard because they had to lower it here. And so in order for them to pull the actual prices that they want, they're going to have to keep those prices high, even if that means offering you a ton of incentives to get you in the door. And so this is all well and good, right? Like, my home buyers have great leverage. You're seeing pretty decent prices. And with those mortgage rate incentives and closing cost incentives, it not only lowers the amount of money that you have to bring to the table when you close, but it lowers your monthly payment, which is most important to most of the clients that I deal with. And that's all good, but there can be catches to this. Like I said, these builders get tricky. They don't lose money, they just move money. So here's some things that I want you to be on the lookout for. And some of them are unavoidable, but you need to know that this is what you're getting into if you buy the new construction home. The first one is higher prices overall. So typically I like to do market value by like the price per square foot. And right now in Killeen, the price per square foot is right around $142, $143 per square foot. But for a new construction, even though that price might be okay, and they might give you all these closing costs and incentives, you're actually ending up with a higher price per square foot or higher sales price overall. So if you need to resell that house in the near future, that could cause challenges, right? Because what if home prices go down in that same neighborhood and area? You'll also be competing against other new construction homes. So if you can't offer the $20,000 interest rate buy down, then you are pretty much gonna lose. Keep your mind there. The home price is gonna be higher, the price per square foot is gonna be higher, which means you end up paying more money for less home. The other thing I want you to make sure that you are keeping a close eye on is these interest rate buy down incentives. So I opened up my phone, searched incentives in my Gmail, and the first thing I see is $20,000 in incentives on homes that are starting at the $200,000. And that's by Castle Rock. And then if I go back, let me just search one more so you can see like this isn't just like a one-off thing. Let me see who else has got. Then Lennar, they have temporary buy downs for FHA that's like 5.1, even as much as 4.25. Let me go and look and see if I can find another one. And this is just all in February. Meritage Homes, they're offering 5% in buyer's agent commission and a fixed rate of 4.5%. And this just keeps going and going and going. It could be a temporary incentive. It could be a temporary buy down, meaning that they buy it down for 2 points the first year. They buy it down 1 point the next year, and then it goes up to the regular market rate on the third year. You need to know that. Is this a bad thing or a predatory thing? No, I actually don't think so. I think this can be great, especially if you know in 2 years that I can afford that new mortgage payment and increased property taxes and increased insurance. Like, let's keep all that in mind, because you could find yourself in a payment shock situation. And that's why I say be careful with these and make sure that you know what you're getting into. That low introductory price that starts to go up and it stays fixed after a few years, your taxes may have gone up and your insurance may have gone up. And so you want to kind of factor that in and adjust for for those. And I would say just adjust for like an extra 5% on your taxes and insurance. I think that's just a good rule of thumb, but make sure that you can afford it when you get that new rate. Also, no adjustable rates that like flow with the market. We'll talk about that in another video, but make sure if you accept the rate buy down that you, one, have a permanent buy down. Like it doesn't change. It's going to be this forever. Or you know exactly when it changes and what it changes to. The problem with the typical adjustable rate mortgage is that you just don't know. It goes by the market. So just make sure that you know, because it could cost you more money in the long run and you find yourself in a payment shock situation. And I don't want that for you. The other thing is limited lender choices, which could just equal crappy service and higher fees. These mortgage lenders are typically in bed with the home builder and they have like a kickback situation going on or something. I don't know how it all works, but you typically have to use the preferred lender for the builder in order to get that incentive. And that's all well and good, but a lot of those lenders, like they have really, really bad customer service. And they know that they're giving you a $10,000 credit or whatever. And so they raise their fees in other areas. And what it does is it stops you from being able to compare interest rates and shop around. You just kind of have to take the deal that you're given. Sometimes it is the best deal, but sometimes it may actually not be. And it's hard for the regular consumer to compare because you're now comparing this $10,000 credit to one that is not. And you need a loan officer on your team that is like really smart and is gonna tell you line by line what this loan estimate equals. And the best ones will be super honest and say, hey, you need to go with this. It's a good deal. It's a better deal than I could get you. So let's be aware of that. The choice of lender is gonna be limited and it might seem harmless, but when it comes to quality of service and the amount of fees that you're gonna pay, it could hit you in the pockets in the long run and just really get on your nerves because you don't have a choice on where you do your financing. So here's a few tips for you to avoid those pitfalls when you go into negotiations with these builders. First is get your buyer's agent. Get your buyer's agent to play the bad guy in these situations, and that way you're not having to talk directly to the builder. And your buyer's agent should know where builders will normally flex and where they won't. So that way you can know if you're getting screwed over or if this is just kind of par for the course, right? So you have a buyer's agent. Always try and negotiate price before incentives. They can give you these incentives, and when it comes to interest rates, like I always say this, home prices, the sales price that you bought the house for will never change. It's always static. But the interest rate is the thing that can change. Now, if you just get a fabulous interest rate that you likely are never going to have to refinance, because I don't think interest rates are ever going to get below 4. But if you get something like that that seems great, then you take it and you run with it. But just make sure that you're focused on the sales price first. Second thing that you want to do is, like I said, compare the builder's lender to an outside lender. Get what's called a loan estimate and make sure that that incentive that they're giving you is actually in your best interest and the best deal that you could get. Sometimes you might have to pay a little bit more money out of pocket to pay less money out of pocket in the long run. Interest rates are huge, and they have a huge effect on the amount of money that you pay during the life of that loan. So compare the two. That way you can have the confidence in knowing that the deal you're going for is actually a good deal. The other thing I want you to do is read the fine print on those interest rates, okay? Get a breakdown from the lender of how it amortizes and how it moves, okay? Make sure you know it's gonna be this for 1 year, this for the second year, and then for 3 years and beyond, it's gonna be this, and it stays that way. Make sure that even if you are adjusting the mortgage for the first year or two, that after that it is fixed, okay? Make sure that you are paying attention to the interest terms. Last but not least, look at the resale values in the area, okay? If you know you yourself in your situation and you're not gonna be in this house for very long, it might not be the best move to get a new construction because the price is higher. Are they gonna keep building in that neighborhood for the next few years? Because if so, and you end up selling it, you're now gonna be competing against the builder that built your house. And most times, you're gonna lose. This is the worst position to be in. There's a resale house right here, and then right across the street, they're building more houses. And so you end up competing against the builder that built your house. And man, I don't want that for anybody. So these builder incentives can be great if you know how to use them right and if you're paying close attention. And right now in Texas, you can get more incentives here than pretty much anywhere else in the nation, and that's great. But make sure that you're doing your due diligence, that you're on top of that builder, and that you come in with a smart real estate agent to help you. So wherever you're buying a home in the great state of Texas and you want to make sure that you have an agent on your side that knows their stuff and is gonna ride for you, vouch for you, and make sure that you get the best deal and don't get screwed over, reach out. We would love to have a conversation. All of my booking info is in the description. And I have a free homebuyer game plan in the description that's gonna walk you through from start to finish on how to get the best deal. Okay, now go check out one of these other videos. I appreciate you so much for spending your time here, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.